It was meant to be just a normal day at the zoo. Bright sunshine, busy crowds, and strollers filled with snacks. But something was wrong in the gorilla area. Zuri sat in the furthest corner, hunched over, staring at the ground like she was expecting something. The zoo workers watched from a distance, quietly speaking into their radios. She won't eat or respond to anything. It's been weeks now. Most people walked by without noticing. But one little boy stopped, placed his hand on the glass, and that's when everything started to change. For weeks, Zuri hadn't responded to anything. She hadn't been herself since she lost her baby. One keeper whispered, "I think she's giving up on life." 3 months had passed since her infant stopped breathing during the night, since Zuri's heartbreaking cries echoed throughout the enclosure. Eventually, the zoo staff intervened, but something inside her seemed to vanish forever. She stopped howling, stopped eating. Until today. A group of school children gathered near the enclosure, talking loudly, pushing for space. Most barely glanced at Zuri before moving on, disappointed she wasn't doing anything interesting. Except for one child. A small boy, around 7 years old, moved toward the glass. He didn't shout or wave like the others. He just stopped, quiet and calm, as if something was pulling him forward. His name was Liam. He gently pressed his hand against the glass, and for the first time in weeks, Zuri lifted her head. At first, it was barely noticeable. A slight movement of her fingers, a small tilt of her massive head. Then her eyes found the boy. The connection was electric. Her eyes, which had been dull for so long, locked onto his. She didn't blink. Her nostrils flared slightly. Then, without making a sound, she stood up, taking one heavy step, then another. Slowly and deliberately, she walked across the enclosure. Parents gasped. Some stepped back nervously. Zuri hadn't approached the viewing glass in over a month. Now she stood directly in front of it, towering over everyone. Her breath made foggy patches on the surface. And then, she lifted her hand. Gently, purposefully, she pressed it against the glass, palm to palm with the little boy. Liam didn't flinch or move away. The onlookers froze. Some smiled, others frowned, confused by what they were seeing. The moment felt almost holy. A zookeeper spoke into her radio. Zuri just approached a visitor. First interaction in 31 days. Another keeper watched closely. That boy. There's something familiar about him. But no one, not yet, understood what was really happening. No one knew this wasn't the first time Zuri had seen that face. And it would change everything. Nobody spoke. Zuri's hand remained on the glass, her massive fingers spread wide. On the other side, Liam copied her, his small palm flat against the foggy surface. Their eyes locked in a silent, secret exchange. The crowd grew larger. Phones flashed, but Zuri saw only the boy. Headkeeper Kate arrived, walking quickly, radio crackling in her hand. She stopped suddenly when she saw what was happening. "She's touching the glass," someone whispered. "That hasn't happened since her baby died. Not even once." Kate moved closer, her forehead wrinkling in thought. Something about Zuri's body language showed more than just attention. It showed recognition. Focused. Emotional. Almost human-like. Then Zuri began to move again. Her free hand rose slowly, making deliberate gestures. Kate's eyes widened. "She's trying to say something," Kate whispered, stepping toward the glass. Zuri was using sign language. Basic signs, from earlier training sessions. The movements were stiff but unmistakably intentional. The boy tilted his head, curious but not afraid. If anything, he looked calmer now than before. His hand still hadn't moved from the glass. His mother, Emma, finally stepped closer. "Liam," she said gently. "Come on, sweetheart." But he didn't move either. Kate turned, studying the mother's face carefully. "What did you say his name was?" "Emma Wilson," she replied, puzzled. "This is Liam." Kate froze. A shiver ran down her spine. "No, it can't be. I'll be right back," she said quickly, rushing toward the staff office. Inside, she searched frantically. Old paperwork, archived files, program lists, therapy records. Years ago, Zuri had been part of a short-lived animal-assisted bonding program. It allowed parents and young children to observe and interact with pregnant gorillas from secure, reinforced areas. The goal was to test emotional connections between species. She found it, a record book. Her eyes jumped to one entry. Mother, Emma Wilson. Son, Liam Wilson. Weekly visits, 4 months. Stopped after infant loss. Kate stared at the page, her fingers tightening. Oh my God. She fumbled through a file of photos, found one dated nearly 5 years ago. A tiny toddler in a red hoodie, pressing his hand against the glass. Zuri's pregnant form loomed on the other side. It was Liam, younger, smaller, but unmistakably, the same child. Back at the enclosure, Zuri had sat down in front of the boy. Her hand still rested on the glass, her eyes locked on the child she hadn't seen in years. The crowd saw a beautiful moment. But Kate now understood something very different. This isn't just curiosity, she whispered. She remembers him, and Liam. He still had no idea what was happening. Kate hurried back to the enclosure, holding the photo in her shaking hand. Her heart pounded. The crowd still watched. Zuri hadn't moved an inch. Liam now sat cross-legged on the ground, like it was the most natural place in the world. Kate knelt beside his mother. Do you remember coming here years ago? She asked gently. Emma hesitated. Yes, when Liam was very little. I was going through a rough time. Someone recommended the zoo program. Something about bonding and emotional support. I didn't think it made any real difference, but he really loved coming here. Kate showed her the photo. Emma gasped. That's us. Liam leaned in, eyebrows drawn together. Looking at the toddler in the photo, he whispered, That's me. Kate nodded. Zuri was pregnant then. She responded to you more than anyone else in the program. You used to sit here, just like this, every week. He tilted his head. I don't remember any of that, he said honestly. But Zuri did. The gorilla shifted suddenly, gently, but with purpose. She lowered herself further, nearly lying flat, and began tapping the glass in a slow, rhythmic pattern. 3 taps. A pause. 2 taps. It was a beat, a game, a memory from long ago. Liam blinked. He didn't know how, but his fingers began to mirror the rhythm. Tap, 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 pause, tap, tap. Zuri's lips parted slightly. She breathed out a soft, rumbling sound, something no one had heard from her in months. Kate watched, amazed. It's their special pattern, she said. She used to play that game with him before she gave birth. He would do the taps, and she'd copy him. Liam looked up, eyes wide with wonder. Did she miss me all this time? Kate swallowed hard. I think she never forgot you, she said quietly. The whispers in the crowd began to change. Less about spectacle, more about reverence. Some wiped away tears. A father pulled his daughter closer. Then, Zuri did something. She began to sway from side to side. It was slow, gentle, like someone rocking a baby. Her massive arms curved inward, holding nothing, but not really nothing at all. Liam watched her silently, his head lowering. A flicker of something impossible to name crossing his face. He whispered, She's pretending I'm her baby. No one corrected him, because he might be exactly right. The zoo staff exchanged meaningful glances. This wasn't just interaction, it was grief coming back to the surface. It was memory. It was something sacred and special. Emma knelt beside her son, her hand hovering near his shoulder. Sweetheart, she whispered, unsure what to say next. But Liam spoke first. It's okay, Zuri, he said softly. I'm here, now. And somehow, that was enough. The big gorilla made a low grunting sound, placed her arm along the ground, and rested her head on it, still facing the boy. For the first time in 3 months, Zuri closed her eyes. Not in sadness, but in peace. Morning turned into afternoon, but Zuri didn't move from the glass. Neither did Liam. They sat across from each other, the crowd growing smaller, the excitement replaced by something deeper and more meaningful. Zookeepers had roped off the area. There were no jokes now, no selfies, just quiet, and the soft, constant sound of Liam's fingers tapping against the glass. Kate stood nearby, watching everything unfold. "She's calm," she said into her radio. "No signs of being upset. Her vital signs look normal, and her appetite has returned." "Then why does it feel so uncertain?" her assistant replied. "Because everyone's thinking the same thing," Kate said, "even if no one dares say it out loud." "What happens when the boy goes home? What will happen then?" Inside the enclosure, Zuri began gathering things. Leaves, a piece of cloth, the broken remains of an old toy. She stacked them carefully near the glass. Kate recognized the behavior immediately. "She's nesting," she said quietly. "She's making a bed for him." Emma, watching from a bench nearby, covered her mouth with her hands. Liam spoke up. Can I give her something?" Kate paused, then nodded. The boy took out a small, stuffed elephant from his backpack, worn with one ear half torn. It was clearly well loved. He pressed it gently against the glass. Zuri froze, her eyes fixed on the toy. Slowly, cautiously, she raised her hand and matched his gesture. Palm against the elephant, palm against the glass. A soft breath escaped her throat. Then she took her old cloth and folded it over the toy's reflection, as if tucking it under a blanket. Kate turned to Emma. "She's showing parenting behavior. She's gone completely maternal. And I think she believes he's somehow come back to her after all this time." Emma's voice was quiet with concern. "And what happens if he leaves again?" Kate didn't have an answer for that question. Back at the administration office, staff members debated what to do. Was this healthy? Was this dangerous? What would happen if Zuri went backwards when Liam eventually stopped visiting? What if this substitute bond turned into an unhealthy fixation, or something worse? But Kate argued strongly against their concerns. She's healing, slowly and gently. This boy is the key to her recovery. A plan was created. Weekly visits under careful supervision. Not just for Zuri's benefit, but for Liam's too. Because since reconnecting with her, something had changed in him as well. He was sleeping better, eating more, talking more. Emma noticed the difference. She hadn't seen this spark in her son since before she stopped bringing him to the zoo all those years ago. The following week, Liam returned. Zuri waited at the glass. He brought a drawing, Zuri with a baby gorilla and a boy. When he showed it, Zuri made a soft grunt. With gentle care, she pressed her forehead against the glass. Liam did the same. In that moment, there were no barriers between them, only recognition and love. The video spread online immediately. A gorilla, a boy, reuniting after years apart. Millions watched Zuri pressing against the glass, cradling a toy, rocking beside a child she hadn't seen in 5 years, but never forgot. News crews gathered at the zoo. Some said animals remember. Others claimed people saw what they wanted to, but witnesses knew what they saw was real. Zuri now waited by the glass daily. Liam visited weekly, with Zookeepers and his mother, each. Zuri greeted him peacefully, like a mother who had found her purpose again. Kate, watching from a distance, saw what no scientific data sheet could ever fully explain. "She's truly alive again," she told the board at a special review meeting. "Not just surviving, really living." The board approved extra funding for enrichment therapy programs, even a possible expansion of the human-animal emotional bonding program. Still, Kate worried. What would happen if Liam stopped coming? That question hung over her like a dark cloud. But then unexpected news came. Liam had begun asking questions about that time in his life, about the program, about why they had stopped coming to the zoo. And Emma at last told him the whole truth. "We lost someone too," she said gently, showing him an old photograph. A man smiling with his arms around baby Liam. "Your father. When he died suddenly, I didn't know how to face anything anymore, including this place and these memories." Liam listened quietly, trying to understand. Zuri was the only thing. That seemed to calm you down back then, she added softly. You used to call her Gentle Giant. He didn't remember that nickname, but when he said it aloud at the enclosure, Zuri made a sound, deep and low, almost like a sigh of recognition. Somehow she remembered, even if he didn't. And then something new began to happen. Liam started drawing pictures of her, dozens of sketches. Zuri with him, Zuri with her baby, Zuri watching the world through the glass barrier. Kate collected them quietly, taping them up inside the staff office. He's helping her find closure, she said to herself. But maybe she's helping him find closure too. One cloudy afternoon, Liam placed his final drawing against the glass. It showed Zuri standing tall and strong, holding hands with a smaller gorilla beside her, a baby. Kate stepped closer and knelt beside him. We've found one, she said. Liam looked up curiously. A baby gorilla. She's been orphaned. She's young and frightened. We think Zuri is ready to be a mother again. The day the baby arrived, the zoo staff held their breath anxiously. The crate door opened slowly. Zuri watched from a distance, careful and cautious. The infant gorilla stepped forward, wobbly on its legs, wide-eyed and alone in the world. Then Zuri moved toward it, not quickly, not hesitantly, just with complete certainty. She walked over to the baby and sat down beside it. The infant pressed itself against her leg, for comfort. And for the first time since losing her own child, Zuri wrapped her protective arms around another baby. Outside the enclosure, Liam watched with quiet tears rolling down his face. This time, he didn't press his hand to the glass. He just whispered softly, "You don't have to miss me anymore."